This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome aboard for your very own safari, especially a very warm welcome to our kiddies from South Africa, USA, UK, and Singapore. My name is Trishala, and I've got Davy on camera. This is a splendid morning down here in South Africa. We're in Djuma Game Reserve, and we're looking at some lovely impala out on our quarantine clearings where they like to hang out. Can you see that some of them are sitting down? You can see some bright eyes are low to the ground. Those guys would be resting, and some of them ruminating. That's when they sit and they chew and chew and chew the food that's already inside of their stomachs. They throw it back up into their mouths, and then they chew it again so they can get extra nutrients out of it. I think that is very smart, maybe a little bit gross, but very smart. It's a little cool today. It's about 15 degrees Celsius or 59 degrees Fahrenheit. But I think I feel quite comfortable. So you can tell me how you feel also and send in your questions and your comments. But I'd also like to know how you guys are doing using kids' questions at WildEarth.tv. And we can chat about all the antelope that are hanging about, and hopefully some predators that are walking around at this time as well. This is a great time for predators to be moving around. So I'd love to find one. Now look at how everyone's doing something different. Some have their heads up and they're just looking around. Some are lying down and chewing. Some are grooming. And some are eating. Everyone's getting ready for the morning. It's nice to be a herd animal. Well, part of my herd is also out at the moment, and that is in the form of James Henry. So let's go over to say good morning.
Good morning, hello, and welcome to this end of the Sunrise Safari. Huge excitement this side because, well, the hyenas had a massive party here. The elephants were shouting last night. The lions were apparently shouting last night. I've got tracks of wild dogs going the other way now, and almost certainly, therefore, we will see one duiker, and if we're lucky, a crested barbet during the course of the morning. My name is James Henry. And on camera today is Bokomoso, there's the thumb, and we're going to do our best to drive around with great speed and enthusiasm this morning and find some interesting creatures. Absolutely everything seems to be going the opposite way to the way we're driving, so we might have to turn around shortly and go back down towards quarantine clearings, which are the clearings outside camp, horribly named. I was going to ask Louise to tell Trishala that dog and hyena tracks going down towards where she is, so she might like to keep an eye out there. Now, it has been very moonlit in the last few nights, and that means that the wild dogs will definitely hunt at night, and the more nocturnal predators are likely to do less when there's a big bright moon. And so wild dog tracks in the morning doesn't necessarily mean that they've just passed through. If you're a kid, remember to ask us questions, or if you're not a kid but you're still under the age of 18, you can send us your questions, kids' questions, at WildEarth.tv. We'd love to hear from you. Questions, comments, jokes and insults, as I always say. Now, I was able to find a great big pride of lions. Look at that, there's some one or two impala, that's about all. Good, we'll keep on driving around furiously. Let's go over to Ngala and beyond Ngala, where Rowan is standing by to introduce you to the wonders of the Timbavati.
Thank you, James. Very good morning to everyone, especially all the families and kids joining us. It is cold out here, I'm not going to lie. You can see I'm wearing gloves. I would be wearing a beanie as well, but there's no speaker or microphone sewn into my beanie, so I have to wear this cap. Anyway, can't really complain too much. So we have had no action last night. No sound at all. No lions, no leopards, no elephants screaming. Anyway, so Marcel behind the camera and me, Rowan, we are just sitting here on the old airship and listening to hear if we can hear any lions calling, any leopards sawing or rasping, you know, any alarm call, just anything really. But so far it's a very quiet Saturday morning, and actually surprisingly very cold for a cloudy day. So our plan, I think what we might do is head into the central parts of andBeyond Ngala and start looking around for the Birmingham young lioness, see if she's around. So we've kind of caught up to which roads she patrols in the mornings and at night. So I think we're going to check all of these, see if we can find any tracks, and then maybe follow her around for a little bit. Whew. I'm scared to drive because every time I drive, the wind chill just cools my face down quite a bit. It's a very quiet morning. Okay, so it seems like James saw his first wild dog hunt ever on the old airship. I can't say, I don't think I've ever seen a successful hunt. No, I've seen them, and they were fighting hyenas quite badly just north of here. So very likely, I mean, this would be a phenomenal place for our dogs to hunt, because it's so nice and open and they could just sprint up the old airship. So as you guys can see, the grass is cut, because for now we have the anti-poaching plane. They come and land here and they take off from here, so we need to maintain the grass a little bit. Old airship, I think the last plane that actually brought in guests were 1994. And then now we have a new tarred airship way further up north, which we can't show you because we don't have signal up that far. Some elephant poo in the road, which we'll try dodge. Otherwise we'll have to get Sean to clean the tires. I don't think he'd be very keen on that. Sydney from the USA, a lot of the time we find animals walking on the roads and paths. It's just that even for animals like humans, they would choose the path of least resistance, and of course majority of the time this is either a road or a very big game path. So which is why in the morning you'll see me driving a little bit and then scooting off to the side, looking down just to see if we can find any tracks of anything that might have walked on the road. So yeah, a lot of times Sydney we find animals walking on the road and path. It makes this job a little bit easier. Today, or this morning, the only thing we saw walking along the road was a hyena, and then it scooted off. We left camp and there was a tortoise, a leopard tortoise this size that was killed. We don't know whether it was a hyena or a honey badger or anything like that. We didn't stop there for too long, but the carcass is just outside camp. It could be, actually more likely it's a honey badger that got spooked by the sound of the vehicle and abandoned the carcass when we drove up. Alrighty, okay, so it sounds like Trishala just quickly want to give you guys an update while we are driving around looking for anything.
I am going to give you an update, and that update being that James had a spidey sense this morning. He said he was going to keep an eye out for dogs, and then he found some tracks of the wild dogs, as well as the hyenas, and to quote him, having a party on Viatella access. Of course, they weren't actually having a party. There might have been some food involved, as there should be at a party, but I don't think it was much fun. Either way, that means when we find tracks that animals are around somewhere. Just depends how old the tracks are. So I've just been doing an extra little loop, looking for any bits of eye shine that don't look like antelope. Hopefully it'll be a predator. We also saw a leopard named Mulwati on the dam cam last night. He was walking, I think, across the dam wall. You get that? I think it was. And he's very, very difficult to find. So maybe we'll find him too. Hi Eugene, you're 9 years old. You'd like to know, why do the animals' eyes shine at night? Well, Eugene, inside of the eye there is a very fancy, pretty looking shiny layer that we don't have. Lots of animals have them. In fact, most animals have it. It's called a tapetum lucidum. Does that sound like a fancy word? And there's a whole lot of cells in that layer that reflects light. So if I shine light into the eye, and the eye takes in some light, and that's how it gets a picture, the tapetum lucidum lets the eye collect the light again because it shines it out and back into the ball. So it's the back of your eye that actually collects light, and the tapetum lucidum lets that happen twice. Lets your retina, that's the part that you want to use, that you should be using in your eye, it lets your retina collect the light twice. It's really awesome. If you are not squeamish, because I remember doing this as a youngster when my parents bought fish or something like that, I would have a look at the eyes. I know, it's strange, but it's definitely worth it because you can see exactly what I mean about how the eye works, and you can see the lens and all those things. Hi Sana, you're 9 years old from Durban. You'd like to know, how does the weather affect animals, for example, the rain? You find that the rain doesn't do too much, because remember, animals don't know that there's a different option when it's raining, that there's an option not to be in the rain. Sorry Sana, I'm gonna get to your question again in a bit. It's okay. Ooh, that's pretty. So there's animals don't know that there's a different option to being in the rain. All they know is, oh, today it's raining, yesterday it wasn't, and I'm gonna get wet, and that's okay because I don't know that I don't have to get wet. Wind is more problematic. Wind distorts sound, so when it's windy it's hard to hear sound properly, because remember, sound, even though you can't see it, sound is waves, and these waves are traveling through the air. And so when the air is moving about, as it does with the wind, then the sound moves about too, and it's very hard to tell which side the predator is coming from, or which side the animal you want to hunt is coming from, but it's more the other way around. How's that sunrise? Ooh, very pretty. Just gorgeous. Almost looks like a painting. Also, talking about the weather, when it's really hot, that affects predators quite a lot because they can overheat. There's a couple things about predators. Firstly, they don't sweat, well, like most animals. We are special when it comes to that. And they also eat meat exclusively. And meat takes a lot of energy to digest. And when you're digesting it, your metabolic processes, the processes that help you to break down the meat, can cause heat. So you get hot and tired internally when you have to digest lots of meat. And also, if you're a hunter, it means that you're running around and sneaking around quite a lot, and you can get very tired and overheat. That's why at a time like this, when it's not warmed up yet, the sun is just poking through the horizon, this is a good time for predators to be out and about and moving. Okay, it's almost up, folks, so let's be quiet and wait for it to come up. How many birds can you hear? I can hear some francolin. I can hear a black-headed oriole. I can hear a hornbill. I can hear a Cape turtle dove. All the lovely sounds of the morning, and a beautiful sunrise to accompany it. Doesn't it just look like a painting? It almost looks unreal. I wonder if it's too cloudy to actually see the ball of sun come out. Everyone says it's really beautiful. It certainly is. It's just gorgeous. Always important to sit and appreciate the rising sun and the setting sun and everything in between. Okay, I'm going to have to keep on going towards Twin Dams because I need to find you some animals. So I'm going to send you over to James for an update. Maybe he'll manage to catch the sun peeping over the horizon.
We did find some impalas that were going and so we drove off the road quickly, hoping to find a leopard by a pan deep in the middle of a thick block. But we found water and nothing else. And it was so thick and pretty dark that we pulled out again. We found tracks of elephants as well. Now, perhaps these are the elephants that were heard fighting or making a noise not too long ago. They are freshish, but as yet I've yet to see an elephant. And I've also yet to see a predator track other than the first hyena tracks that we saw. So things turning out exactly as I predicted. It is a little bit difficult to see the twacks at the moment because the light is very poor. But the sun is going to come up eventually. And then all will be revealed. Well, maybe not all, but some. Hello, Teddy in California. You want to know what goes whoop like a ghost on the dam cam in the mornings? It's probably a ghost, Teddy. Lots of ghosts, obviously. Things getting wiped out every night by predators here. And, you know, there's a great collection of ghostly antelope that knock around going ooh, especially around the full moon. Maybe it is a spookfool, or ghost bird, otherwise known as the grey-headed bushshrike, and it goes like this. Could be that. I'm trying to think what else would make a noise like that. If it's not very often, it could be wild dogs calling. Whoop, 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 whoop. It could be... It could be a hyena, as Louise says. Whoop, whoop. So it could be any of those things. But I think Louise is probably correct. May well be a hyena that you're hearing. It sounds like a ghost. Oof. Matthew, what happens to animals when they die? This might be something you should take up with your parents rather than me. But I'll do my best. In essence, what happens is they rot. So same as what happens to human beings. They rot, and because of the lack of life, the lack of oxygen, or you know what oxygen is, the lack of oxygen flowing through the body, the stop of the heart rate, or the stop of the heartbeat means that no oxygen can flow through the body, and so eventually, basically, you know, like when food goes bad, Matthew, when food goes bad, it starts to smell and it rots. It eventually basically melts into the ground, and that's what happens to animals when they die. They eventually just melt into the ground, unless they're eaten by a scavenger. But if they're not eaten by a scavenger, they'll eventually just melt into the ground, and then what will happen there is the ground becomes actually quite fertile around there, and maybe a grass seed or a flower will germinate in the soil around where that animal has died. That's what happens physically to the animal. What happens to it in essence, or in, you know, spiritually, well, that's something you're going to have to take up with your folks, because it differs from person to person. Some people think that animals go to heaven, some people don't, and that's something that is probably unique to your family. I don't wish to get into that with you. Certainly not without being able to eyeball you at the same time. Let's go now to Rowan up at Ngala and see if he's found anything on the old airstrip.
Still not really up too many, or anything really. We are driving around very slowly. Marcel's asked me not to exceed 10 kilometers an hour, because then the wind chill is too bad. You must see how Marcel is wrapped up. It actually looks rather cute. You just see a nose and a bit of beard poking out. He's got his rain jacket tightened around his face.
That's also to protect my fancy earphones.
He says he's protecting his fancy earphones. Okay, Marcel, I'll let you have that. Lou wants me to take a photo of him and then show you guys on my phone, so I might just do that a little bit later. He has no scam. So far, not really any update on my side. Lots of hyena tracks heading in this direction, but no sign of, well, no track of a leopard or lion or cheetah or wild dogs for that matter. But we are just driving around slowly and hoping things will change. We were discussing earlier how amazing it is that the last time we drove was only 4 days ago, and it was lighter much quicker than it was today, so it's changing so rapidly. When we head out, it's still pitch dark, you can't see a thing. So of course with the spotlight out, which is quite a lot of fun, but I think what ends up happening is we drive over quite a few tracks, because of course we can't see the tracks in the dark. I'm not that good just yet. Sonia from Singapore, who's only 4 years old, wants to know what the purpose of that seat is. Sonia, so that is known as a tracker seat. So the tracker, usually what he does is he sits on top of there and he can look at the road and actually see the tracks of the animals before I drive over them with all the tires. So he would sit there, look around, look on the ground, look around, look on the ground until he sees tracks. And then usually the tracker I drive with, his name is Richard Causa, all I will get is a silent hand signal. Hand goes up like that, and I come to an abrupt halt, and then he jumps off without a word to me, and then I have to walk to the side and look at the tracks with him, and then he'll say, yeah, leopard or lion, fresh, not fresh, and then we go from there. So yeah, the tracker seat is for him. Of course, Sean has a different tracker. His name is Ernest. And then Eric works with a different tracker, and Nikki works with a different tracker. So all of us have been paired up with trackers. It's just during these times they are not at the lodge with us at the moment. Oh, very quiet morning. Often there's a big clearing here to my right, and often you'll find zebra and wildebeest here, but not even today. Looks like everything is sleeping in this nice cold morning. Garrick from New Zealand, who's only 7, wants to know if we can ever track animals by the smell of their poo. Garrick, it's not impossible. You need to trust your nose very, very well, and I don't think humans actually have the best sense of smell, Garrick, if I have to be honest. But if there is quite a steady breeze coming from one direction, and you pick up the smell of the poo, you might be able to track down the poo. What does tend to happen, if there's a carcass in an area, and let's say a whole pride of lions feeding from the carcass, they often poo around the carcass, and then you'd be able to smell that. So yes, in a way we can, but human beings, we rely mostly on our sense of sight and hearing more than our sense of smell, because we can't really tell direction with our noses. Well, I can't. I don't think Marcel can. Can you? Marcel can't either. So it's not some skill we have on this Land Cruiser. But I'm going to try that, Garrick, for sure, and I'll keep you updated how that goes. A good sense of smell of death. See, Marcel's not making sense either. It's only 6:30 now, and he's still trying to string his sentences together. He says rotting carcasses is something we can smell quite quickly. Of course, but I'll have you know that we have driven past hyena poo, and Marcel picks up his nose and he says, there's something dead here, there's something dead here. And then I'll point out the poo, which, I mean, technically, yes, something died and got eaten by a hyena, but no carcass. So Garrick, we are definitely going to try. Actually, I think I will send that task to Sean to try track down an animal using scent of poo. James found some elephants, so we're going to send you back to Djuma.
There we have got an elephant, 2 elephants in fact, a mummy and a daughter or son. In actual fact, I can hear a lot of them grazing towards us here. Beautiful sounds of the doves. As Louise is pointing out, she's looking at us saying, "Is there something in my teeth?" Yes, just a small smidgen of spinach. Oh, it's nice when you turn off the engine and you're in the presence of an animal like this, and the sounds of the morning just start to surround you. Lana, you can't hug elephants because elephants are wild, and so we don't want to try and domesticate them. They're not like dogs or cats, which will accept us into their presence and allow us to touch them. So we don't want to hug them, we don't want to touch them. I know why you want to hug them, because sometimes you feel like you just love them so much that it'd be nice to hug them. But it's not really something we do, and it's something you should try and avoid doing if you're offered the opportunity, because often elephants that are huggable are kept in captivity, and they don't really like that. So be very careful if somebody ever offers you the opportunity to hug an elephant. He's having a lovely morning, just playing with a few sticks, eating a little bit of grass. It's quite a chilly morning that I don't think is going to warm up a great deal because there's a thick cloud covering overhead. Mum going back to the youngster now to give a few instructions. Hi, good morning, Aunt Daniel. You're in Auckland, in New Zealand. Hello. Please excuse my terrible Kiwi accent, but I just can't help myself. Daniel, the animals, I'm assuming you're not the great Daniel Carter, because I think he's older than 9 years old, although he looks like he's 9 years old. Daniel, he's also from Christchurch, not Auckland. Daniel, the animals get up here at different times of the day. So the elephants will move for quite a lot of the night. They don't sleep very much at all. Animals that get up like you and I get up in the morning would include animals like mongoose or the antelope species, which move around a bit in the day. They'll get up pretty early. But some animals go to sleep now. Hyenas and lions will go to sleep around about this time of the day. A lot of the birds get up around about when you and I get up. Obviously you are quite late afternoon at the moment. We're just in the morning. But I'll leave your folks to try and explain the complexities of the time zones that we find ourselves in. There's another elephant coming out from behind that bush there. There are lots of them all around here. Most of them feeding in the thickets. Now, if you look around there as we wait for this elephant, there we go, he's out now, BK. You'll see that the grass has turned this autumnal / wintry golden honey color. Now that means that the nutrition in the grass is limited, and so the elephants will spend less time grazing now, and they'll spend much more time on the fringes of the thickets, feeding on trees and their leaves. Trishala has managed to find something very unusual. It is a tree-climbing francolin.
They're very unusual indeed. In fact, it is a Natal spur fowl. Can you see the spurs at the back of the legs? Long things. they can use when they fight. They look a little bit sharp, don't you think? There we go. Those are the spurs. And usually, oh, a bit of a shake. Almost thought we were going to get a dropping there. Maybe we'll still be lucky. There's Natal spur fowls, are ground birds. Oh, at least it flew off. Only once you came to me, because I said to the spurfowl, "Don't do it, spurfowl, don't do it. I want to show you to the kids." And then the spurfowl very politely obliged, and then waited till you were with me for it to fly away. Now it's interesting that it's up in a tree. And that's why we stopped to look, because ground birds end up in the tree if they feel threatened by something. Then they'll use all their energy to move their stubby little bodies up into the tree. But they can also get up into the tree if they want their lovely, beautiful call to go and travel a further distance. They want everybody to hear, so they go up, just like when you perform, you go up on stage so everyone can hear you, everyone can see you. That's what they're doing. And that's exactly what this spurfowl was doing. Climbed up into the tree. I looked around for any threatening animal. Nothing. So the spurfowl was trying to advertise itself. That's what we call that. So it called up in the tree, hoping that maybe a lovely female spurfowl would say, "Oh, you have a great call there. I might come say hello." Now I am thinking of popping into the den. Hi Neil, you're 4 years old. You'd like to know which time of the day is the best to catch a predator hunting? That for me would be early morning, I think about 4 a.m. Anything between 4 and 6. And once you get past 6 o'clock, your window is a bit shorter. But between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. is a great time. And in the evenings, between about 5:30 and onwards, pretty good. And then also in the darkness. So in the darkness of the night, that's a good time to find them as well. But because they start their hunt in the evening, once the sun starts to go down, by the middle of the night they may have caught something, so you might not see them actually hunting. And then the same goes for if they decide to hunt in the early morning, 4 a.m. If they catch something at 5 or 4:30, then for the rest of the day they're just with that and eating it. Now, like I said, I am going to pop in to the den now. It's very close to me, and I'll send you over to James with his Ellies in the meantime.
This elephant was doing something really interesting. Let's see if she does it again. She was trying to pick something out of the ground, possibly a root or something. But because she doesn't have tusks yet, and looks like she might never have tusks, she was right on her knees, trying to get her mouth into whatever it is she was trying to bite. I can't see what that was, but it was quite interesting to watch. In fact, it wouldn't have made a difference whether she had tusks or not, because it was so close to the ground that she still would have had to be on her knees to dig with her tusks. I hope you heard that. That was the big elephant talking to the others. I wish we knew what they were saying. It would be so lovely to be able to understand those low rumbles. Josh is in Australia. Josh, well, These elephants are not with other elephants because they're just on their own. Please excuse that as well. I can't help myself. Josh, they actually are close to other elephants. We can hear the other elephants moving through the thickets around here. But sometimes you will find a small group like this just moving on its own. Normally, you're correct, they'd be in a group of 8 to 12. But sometimes during feeding, while they're walking through an area, they'll split up like this. And so it's not that unusual. But there are other elephants around here, and I'm sure that they are attached to this group. So I think that this group is probably part of a bigger group. Does that make sense to you? Lots of Australians today, Grace. Yes, indeed, an elephant can drink without its trunk. It's tricky, but they can do it. And all they do is push their faces down into the water and drink like you and I would. So they just put their mouths into the water and suck. So it is possible, but it's a little bit more difficult for them. Some elephants really do survive quite well with, say, half a trunk. They can lose a piece of their trunks if they have an accident. And it looks like they couldn't possibly survive, but they do. They bite leaves off trees as opposed to picking them with their trunks. They drink by putting their faces into the water. So it is possible for them to survive. I'm not sure they'd survive, with, say, 3/4 of the trunk removed, because then I think they really would probably be unable to feed properly. But certainly I've seen elephants with half a trunk that survive quite happily. Or quite successfully. I don't know if they're happy or not. Oh my, age 5 in Australia. Some elephants are shy, some elephants are not shy. It depends very much on the personality of the elephant and also on what experience they've had. So this little chap here is not shy. He's not afraid of being around us. He's just carrying on with his life. He's carrying on with his day. Sometimes the bulls are less shy than the cows. They tend to be a bit more curious. So the big cow who is standing away from us, the big elephant here, is definitely shyer than this guy. And that might be because she's older. It's probably also because she's a cow, and quite possibly also because they're all talking to each other now. That's so cool. But also I think it's just personality, Maya, sometimes, that some people are shy and some people are very outgoing. And I think it's very similar with elephants. Now, Gabriella's on the completely opposite side of the world to Australia. She's in Alaska. Elephants do lie down to sleep sometimes. Normally just the youngsters, though, say up to about 5 or 6 years old. They'll lie down to sleep. But they don't lie down for long. It's not normally for more than half an hour or so. Then they get up and sleep on their feet or move. And that's because apparently the blood in an elephant pools. That's quite difficult for you to understand. So basically it goes to whatever side is closest to the ground. The blood all goes there, and then the rest of the body needs that blood, and so the elephant has to stand up. Sometimes adults lie down, but not for long. Right, now for the rest of you who are desperate to send through your queries, you may now do so using the hashtag WildEarth. Otherwise, you can use the chat stream on YouTube or on Twitch if you happen to be taking a break from World of Warcraft or Dota or Zombie Apocalypse or whatever else it is that people do on Twitch. How's that, Louise? How's my gaming knowledge there? Louise says that I'm very clever now, because I know 3 games that people play. Lots of communication between that older cow and this, I assume, is her son walking past the front of us. She's talking constantly. And I think you'll pick up some of it. And if you've got a good set of earphones, you might just pick it up a bit more than others. But this guy, speaking back every so often, he replies. And he might be replying with infrasound that we can't hear. But you do hear him rumbling every so often. Now he's playing with his sister. Might be his brother. Oh, here we go. Online Boss says that he's busy playing World of Warcraft while watching this. Online Boss, you must be a little bit like a dolphin in that you're able to use different hemispheres of your brain to do different things. I'm most impressed. I mean, I don't know what kind of intellectualism it takes to play World of Warcraft, but I imagine listening to the extremely intellectual topics I'm delivering to you this morning while playing the game must be taxing. Strange kind of atmosphere this morning with this grey cloud overhead. Might break up as the sun comes up, but I think we're in for a fairly cloudy day. All right, we'll probably move on now and see what else is in the offing. You're going to go back to Rowan up at andBeyond Ngala and find out what's happening his side of the world.
Still have not found anything. Very quiet morning on andBeyond Ngala. I know Eric, Nikki and Yapi, they're checking the east to see if they can determine where the Birmingham Pride went from the last time Eric had them yesterday. And we decided to come more to the west to change things up just a little bit. But so far, no luck with anything. No, drove past a couple of wildebeest, they're all still lying down. Some zebra, all still lying down. So majority of your grazers, of your diurnal animals, are actually still sleeping or lying down, waiting for it to warm up a little bit. But this is good weather for predators. I mean, they'll still be active in the cold weather like this. We just need to find them. So fingers crossed. We are approaching the Timbavati River. We're just going to check a very big open clearing just on our right, known as Cheetah Flats. Marcel says I must go back a bit. So let me go into reverse. go forward a bit. I think we have stopped for impala. Anyway, it won't be the first time. We have stopped for many a termite mounds, logs. Louise, who's in my ear, who's the director, says Marcel is directing my driving like one of those car guards in the city. Actually, Louise has been on form this morning. She's pulled out every single accent she knows. Sometimes I struggle to understand her, but that's okay. Need the banter. Very old lion poo. Very old. Can't even smell it anymore. Louise, I wish you had a small microphone as well and everyone could hear what you said. Okay, so while we're still scanning around and Marcel's directing my driver, or my driving, I'm going to send you over to Trish with a gorgeous bird.
I do have a gorgeous bird. It's a lilac-breasted roller. Careful, lilac-breasted roller. We don't want Marcel to tell you how to roll. Although he probably knows how to do it. Look how the colors are a little bit drab now that the sun has not risen, believe it or not, because I tried so hard to show the sunrise earlier during Kids Drive. But fruitlessly, as it is still hidden. But it is up there somewhere, just hidden. So lilac-breasted roller has many colors, and you can see the lilac on the breast, hence the name. And when the sun comes out, those colors are a lot more prominent, and very bright, and very vibrant. And they really are one of the prettiest birds out here. Their call almost doesn't suit the way that they look. And no, it is. It's very fluffy. It's popped its little feathers out. It's sitting quite nicely on this branch, so it looks almost like a little colorful hamster.
Good morning, stations. Henry from Jakarta getting mobile. On any
You reckon it looks like a turquoise and lilac tennis ball, Louise? No. I think the tennis ball status has to be kept for the crested barbet. I also really like the eyeliner going on there. It's sitting really peacefully in that little nook or little part of that branch. It almost looks like it's meditation. Hi, Hillary. You'd like to know if this is a male? The sexes are alike in lilac-breasted rollers, so this is, I don't know if it's a male or female, so both of them look the same. And I can understand, Hillary, why you're asking that, because most of the time it's the males that look quite ostentatious. Oh, that was such a cool pose. That was so cute. And normally it is the males that look ostentatious, and the sexual selection works most on, but it is not always the case. In fact, there are lots of exceptions to that. So peaceful. Hi, Connie. You're 4 years old from Auckland. You'd like to know if we get orangutans here in the park? Unfortunately not. We don't get them in Africa. They are my favorite ape. I love them very much. I've never seen one in the wild. But no, you don't get them here. You do get them in Asia. But definitely not on this side. We don't even have chimpanzees or bonobos in our park. But those you actually do get in Africa. Alright, well, I think this bird needs to get up and go forth with its morning, and James has another little family who I think is doing the same.
This looks like an extremely painful process for Mum. That is not gentle. And given that it's combined with teeth, it must be very uncomfortable. And now? I don't know if that was just exuberance. She was insulted. Mum clearly doesn't care. This is a kudu, if you're wondering. I think it's just having fun. The baby just ran past. I think it's just having a little bit of a cavort post-feed. It comes now. Now I'm imagining that rather vicious tugging and headbutting, which I've seen in many species of especially precocial animals, probably stimulates lactation. I've not seen it with the cats. I know this isn't the best view, but if I start the car, the whole process will end. It also always looks so uncomfortable for these antelope and horses and zebras, giraffe. They've got to twist their heads to such an extent to get at their mother's teats. It's not like with the cats where Mum lies down on her side and makes it nice and easy. Or like with the primates where the baby is cradled on the breast, as it were. Icho, we think the stripes are there to break up the outline of the animal so that when it's moving through bush like this, a predator might find it slightly difficult to figure out which way it's going. That's the best we can come up with. There are plenty of animals that live in very similar habitat that don't have stripes, so I don't know. But you will get that answer that I've just given you from most guides. From the very basic, you'll get, oh, it's good for camouflage, which I'm really not sure is true, to what I've just said. Jessica, what a very good question. I'm going to call this one a cow as well. You're saying, why did I call that elephant a cow when it's not a cow, it's an elephant? Well, this is a cow as well, Jessica. Now, this is going to confuse you deeply, so sit down, hold on to your seat, put down your chocolate milk, and listen carefully. We call a lot of female animals cows. Now, when you think of a cow, what you're actually thinking of is a female cattle. So the animal that you think of as a cow is, in fact, known as cattle. And so we have male cattle, which are called bulls, and we have female cattle, which are called cows. In the same way, we've got male kudu, which are called bulls. We've got female cattle, which are called, at least female kudu, which are called cows. Same as elephants. Female elephants are called cows, and male elephants are called bulls. Look at that beautiful white tail, which is used for signaling. So clean and pristine white. The bebe is just having a little bit of a relieving of itself. Does that answer your question, Jessica, aged 5 in Australia? I hope so. You can hear all of the robins calling. Drongos. Hornbills. And that, everybody, was our Kudu sighting. Many of you commenting on how cute the giant ears are. I found some wild dogs, but they are way north, in the reserve north of us. I wonder if it's not the same pack. Let us now go to Rowan, who is driving down the banks of the great Timbavati River so that he may traverse its magnificent base.
I've driven down the bank and into the dried up Timbavati Riverbed. We had tracks of a lioness on that road going that way, and of course that is the direction of her den site. So we are now just driving the riverbed in that direction. Maybe we can find her on the bank. Maybe she's still out patrolling. Like I said earlier, it is still nice and cool. Let's see. Picking that light in the of the dried up river. So far in backless. I start quite late mornings. My soul's really not. They were telling me last night that great. It's like this, just in that area, and then once we move further east, it gets better. This is of course also where we find that Varro's eagle owl every time. That youngster is on either side or at that crossing where we drove into the river. So what we found, there were brown-headed parrots nesting in one of the telephone poles, and they are there literally every year. It is so cool to see. And they start, one would poke its head out, and then it's like the female or the male, whichever's behind, then gets pushes out, and then the second gets head out. But as we stopped there, it flew away. So we were going to show you that, but then we were just a little bit too late. but I'm sure I'd be able to show you guys on a different day. So no owl today. Marcel, Saturdays aren't our day, I'd suggest. Marcel, when are you going to dance for us?
When pigs fly, cats swim, doves dive, I don't know, I mean scuba diving doves, so basically never.
He's really not very keen on the whole dancing thing. Dylan, I don't know. If you guys could come up with any suggestion, because I've tried my best to get Marcel to dance. Right. Well, there we go. So Louise is saying she's seen a cat swim. If you're a big building, probably fly. Anyway, and doves can soar. So, we have a stick for Marcel. We'll get some hat, and you're just gonna have. The viewers want it, and you have to give the viewers what they want.
I am under no obligation.
He says he's under no obligation. Dylan, I don't know. I'm hoping rather soon. I also want to see Marcel dance. He said he's not really the best dancer, but it doesn't really matter. What would you dance for?
If I'm ever privileged enough to get married.
He said he'd dance at his wedding.
If I am ever privileged enough.
Yes, we can't really fake a wedding for you, Marcel. Try. I just want to look at the one tree here. We found our owl. I knew it. Couldn't hide from us the whole day. But there he is. Definitely my owl. He's asking him here. There's barely 2 minutes at the moment for Marcel. Anyone on here? Sean? Up to it? No. Dwarf. Printer. Do you have anyone?
Nope.
No? Was it?
Nope.
Was it yes?
Is it nope?
Really? No, I think Louise and Marcel are quite good friends, so we'll try to figure it out. He's cleaning himself. I'm hoping he does. I'm hoping he does what he did last time and stretches it. It looks all puffy and cold. Hey, look at that. Also just slowly waking up. You can see the eyelids actually very slowly blinking behind the pink eyelids. So Louise has asked who's got the longest hair. Is it Nikki or Eric? Louise, I'm staying out of this one for now. You guys can determine that. I wonder what it heard up in the tree.
I love it when I'll look around like that. What is that? What are you?
I have to do this one again. It blends it all with the does. Melissa has asked if I've seen a Pulse fishing arm. Melissa, indeed, around here. What's the touching cleaning is? Melissa, I saw one in Cape Town, of all places. It was rather odd. People noticed it being mobbed by jackal buzzards. So this Pulse fishing arm was flying over Cape Town. And it was a whole big article on every single birding site, and it landed in the Spanish Sea. It was modern. When it goes there, and also I went up to probably 6 or 7 years. Also found there. So I might see another one. I was still stuck in Cape Town. I think the only had me was very fun, not nice camera. Okay, we have bad signal. So we're gonna to trip and leave this lower now.
I'm sure your signal will stabilize very soon. We are now on Shibama Road. Just having a look around. Things are quite quiet at the moment, so perhaps I'll go over to Chitwa a little later once I check out Treehouse Dam. I'm going to say bad things about Treehouse Dam from here, so that perhaps something will be there, because last time I did that, there were elephants. There's never elephants at Treehouse Dam. It's the least productive dam on this whole property. Don't you think so, Darby? Yeah. Now we wait. I feel like my meanness didn't come through. It's very difficult to be mean, especially when I talk about the animals. I can show you the sun finally coming through as soon as I find a sufficient gap. There we go. Hi, Pocket Change. If you'd like to know when the best time is to come to the Kruger Park, how beautiful is that? It depends. So in the summer it's absolutely beautiful and it's lush. You get lots of eddies around. Waterholes are nice and full. You get the potential of seeing eddies play and all of that in the water. But actually finding the animals is a little bit more difficult because the bush is thick. So when you come in the winter, the bush doesn't look as nice because there's very few leaves and things like that. But it also means that you can look for animals with a bit more ease, and you're likely to see them at quite a distance. So it makes the whole experience a little bit easier to actually track and find animals. If I choose... difficult. So also at the end of the year, that's when you get lots of the impala lambs. But then if you come around this time, this is when you get the rut and you get lots of noisy impalas. So it's difficult. I guess it depends on whether you want to see the bush lush and green and there's water around, or would you prefer to have a very good game viewing experience? Not to say that you won't find animals in the summer, because we still find animals for you guys. I know today is probably not the best example of that. But it is definitely possible, if not better than possible. How lovely are our strychnos fruits here. This is what you'll also get at the end of the year. Oh, well, sorry, at this time of the year, but you'll get marula fruits at the end of the year, which you have to try. So I guess, given that list, you'll have to choose. And you can also eat these. Preferably not the seeds. Otherwise then you will get strychnine poisoning. Hence the name. So these, the common name is a black monkey orange. And it is Strychnos madagascarensis, if I remember correctly. There's poison in the fruits, in the seeds of the fruits. And then there's also a different kind of poison called bucine that's in the bark of the fruits as well. I think general rules, stay away. But people do eat it, you just have to avoid the seeds. I'm not sure how much strychnine can be in the seeds. But generally speaking, let's avoid it. Alright, I'm going to go swing past a treehouse dam. See what that unproductive dam has to offer me, unproductive dam has to offer me, and I'll send you over to James for an update.
I was going to say, when you say you're going to go past Treehouse Dam, you're really starting to scrape the barrel, because, gosh, there's never anything there. Today, of course, there will be wild dogs. We are driving now on the northern boundary. We have heard reports of, well, there's two duiker, a mummy and a baby. They've run away. There's no chance we'll see them. They were here on the road from miles back. I thought we might catch up with them. Anyway, we're on the northern boundary going towards the northeast corner. We've done a thorough investigation of the western sector. We've come up with nothing. We did have those lovely elephants, obviously, and there are lots more elephant tracks going on to Djuma, so that bodes well. And the wild dog pack, possibly the same one, was found in the north, as I said, and they've now gone into the Manyeleti, which is the reserve way north of the Sabi Sands. So they've moved quite a long way, if it's the same pack. No, you say, are wild dogs really my favorite animal? They look quite ugly. And they are not ugly. They are beautiful. Yes, they are my favorite animal out here. I think it's very unfair that you say they're ugly. You know that you have in India a beautiful wild dog as well, called the dhole, which isn't quite as attractive as our wild dog, I don't think. But you've got tigers to compensate for that. Indian wildlife is just spectacular. Tigers and leopards and wolves and dholes and sloth bears, there's deer, oh, magical stuff. There are lots of one-horned animals or two-horned animals that wandered along here, the ones of which we don't speak. Let's look at this flower, BK, simply because really driving along a straight road, talking about garbage, is not helping anyone. This is the flower of Senna petitiana, or Cassia petitiana, I think it is now, or the monkey pod. That's a really pretty representation of the monkey pod. Yes, lovely. Very attractive. We're impressed, BK. Can you hear the gasps of wonder from all the viewers at home? Thank you, Louise. Louise is now giving the gasps of wonder from the final control room. I am examining the road ahead with my powerful binoculars, and the only thing I can see is soil. No, Claudia, I think it's way too cold for bees. It's about 16 or 17 degrees Celsius at the moment, and so you will not find a bee unless it has designed itself some kind of winter clothing. All right, BK, I think we've probably milked the sighting for all we can. Yes, I'm sure it does second chance crafting, but that particular one I don't know any medicinal purposes of. I feel like I have described this before. Could be. Could be. Louise says she thinks it's probably a laxative. That the senna are good for laxatives. It's not senna anymore, it's cassia now. But, yeah, maybe it's used as a laxative. I'm not going to try it, though. Well, alright, let's go back to Rowan as my signal dips. I will see you at the very productive Buffelshoek Dam.
Okay, so we checked the river. No sign of this lioness. Of course, her tracks were on the northern side where we are now, and she could have come to her den through here where she didn't have to walk through the river. So we are just checking back quickly to see if that is the case. If that is the case, we'll continue further east on the northern bank of the river. So let's see if we can find any tracks here. Though also quite likely that she is still out patrolling. Like I said, this morning is rather cold and cloudy, so it's not heating up at all. So you'll find a lot of predators, especially nocturnal animals, could stay active for much longer. I'm building up the suspense for myself as well. As I'm driving slower and I'm just expecting this lioness to be somewhere out here in the open. Oh, no such luck today. Can't see her tracks here though. Louise is saying I'm driving slowly, so Marcel's poor ears aren't getting too cold. Marcel is still completely wrapped up with his hood drawn over and tightened, so it's only like the ring of his face. Marcel's saying his ears are big and they get cold quite easily. The better to hear you, my dear. Not that Marcel's the big bad wolf, that just popped into my mind as I heard he's got big ears. There are a number of wildebeest tracks, some elephant tracks, but no lion tracks. Evelyn, who's 7 years old, wants to know what time of year would be best for birding. Around these parts, Evelyn, definitely summer. That's when all our migratory birds are back. So, I think majority of them are back late November. So about mid-March, you'd do very well with birding. Evelyn, are you a birder? Just make sure you don't drive with Sean Marshall. So no fresh elephant poo, so all the dots you see in the road, those are piles of poo of elephant, but nothing fresh. It's already been worked through by dung beetles. Okay, so I think while we are still looking for really anything, we're going to send you back over to Djuma.
And we are in Djuma, indeed. And I was so happy to see these elephants. So happy. Such a quiet morning, and there's nothing like a couple of elephants to brighten up your morning. Hey, they're a very quiet herd. Moving along. Oh, beautiful. You see how they seem to know exactly where they want to go. Following each other in a line.
Dag here on Buffles of east-west pipeline. Okay, heading straight
Oh, someone's got some takeaway. Hi, Callum, Kylie, and Ethan. You have a really important question. You'd like to know why do some elephants not have tusks? Everything that animals have and we have depend on our genes. And sometimes, by random, one animal may not have tusks. It just happens, just how sometimes randomly some people are albino, or they don't have, or they lack melanin. That's a pigment that gives us color. And that's just, that happens randomly, and it happens with your genes. And sometimes it happens with the elephants. But you know that elephants used to be poached quite a lot for their tusks? That's because people used to like to make piano keys out of ivory and jewelry out of ivory. So animals that had all the information for tusks were in one group, and all the animals that had all the information that didn't include tusks in a different group. Now, if you are a hunter and you want to go after ivory, you'd go after all those animals that had the right information for tusks. And then eventually those types of animals became less and less. So the animals that had no information for tusks, those ones were actually more. And then those ones bred, and then they gave no information about tusks to their youngsters or to their babies. So then you get elephants without any tusks. But that was back when elephants used to get poached quite a lot. Now there's a lot more elephants with tusks. Now also, they may not have the right information, but somewhere in their gene there is. It's just that it's not being expressed. That's why you can have a tuskless animal that may have a tusk child or tusk baby. It's a difficult thing to explain, but as you get older, I'm sure that it'll be a little bit easier to understand. Now, Asian elephants generally don't have tusks. They have things called tushes, but that's their group are like that. Anyway, James is at Buffelshoek Dam, and I think I found another Ellie, so I'm going to send you over to him in the meantime.
Look at what's going on here. We have got some hippopotamus and a reflection of the sky on the mill pond that is Buffelshoek waterhole. A very gentle start to the weekend here. The hippopotamus lying in a very scummy looking part of the dam. And by scummy I don't mean the general atmosphere of where they are. I mean the water looks quite scummy. Yes, as Louise says, it looks like they've been having a jacuzzi there. I don't think there are many air jets in Buffelshoek waterhole, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they've modified. There are at least two, that is correct, Louise. There are at least two hippopotamus there. Sleeping in the jacuzzi. I think one is on the other's back. See that? They're quite affectionate, these hippopotami. Hello, Mark. You say you loved my honeymoon video. Thank you, Mark. The next one will be on Friday next week. It is a weekly series coming out on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, edited by my good wife, and showcasing some of the highlights of our honeymoon together in the Kalahari Transfrontier Park, where camping is the ultimate test of a new marriage. There's also the baby hippo across there, underneath the bush there, BK. There is the baby. There it is, just to the, yeah, you got him. I don't know why it is that hippopotamus decides that that's a good place for it to sit, but that's always where it is. Right, Trishala's had a bit more luck with the elephants. Let's go across to her again.
We now have a bull who is probably following that herd. And as Davi described, he's an old young man, the way that he looks. It's because he's not very big. But his skin and the depressions in his head and all of that look almost like an old man or an old Eddie. Now he's moved off. Let's see if we can get another view along the fire break here. He's also a little bit of a scaredy cat. Wouldn't like to say that about an elephant, but he didn't even give me a head shake. He just kind of reversed. But he's also very slow and deliberate. That's something I love about elephants. It's just how slow and deliberate they can be. So silent. Listen to that. It's amazing that massive creatures can move so silently. Hi Naylan, you're 4 years old and you're from the Netherlands. You'd like to know how elephants have trunks. Let me explain. But in order for me to explain, Naylan, you have to get your hand ready, your fingers ready. Okay, I'm just going to get out onto the road so we can see this Ellie again. So you're going to take your thumb and your index finger, and then you have to push out. There he is there. Okay, Naylan, 1 sec. Let's watch him from here so he can be in the background while I tell you. So you're going to push out your lip. Sorry, Davi. Push out your lip and your nose. Can you get your lip to touch your nose? And you take these fingers and do this. That's how elephants have a trunk. They mix their nose and their upper lip together into one long contraption that they can breathe with because it functions as a nose, and also, like I said before, they need it to open their mouths. And they've made a great use of having a trunk. It's almost like how we have a hand. And you know, Dylan, at the end of the trunk they have almost things that look like fingers to pick up little things very gently. Elephants are very gentle creatures. When they walk gently. When they eat and feed, there's gentleness to them. And even their trunks can hold things very gently. I hope that you are now explaining to everyone that you know just how elephants have trunks. And now this elephant has gone into little gallery. Definitely following that herd. Okay, I'm going to keep on going south and keep on going east on our southern border, a southern boundary, which is Gari Main, and see what happens. I'll send you over to Rowan and andBeyond's Ngala. He may have an update for you. I have no doubt that he'll find you some cool animals too.
Still nothing has changed on our side. We crossed out of the river earlier and checked the northern side, and then we heard jackal alarm calling from this side just behind us, so we found the jackal, but I mean it took us about 6-7 minutes to get there, and so we found the jackal, and then they were just hopping around in the long grass and quickly disappeared. So we just slowly again checking back towards the river to see if anything maybe moved through this area, but so far still no luck. And it often happens when, there's a big shift in weather. I mean, yesterday was quite hot. The day before that was quite hot. The sun came out. And then today, it's the first day it was actually cold and cloudy. And it's not going to warm up today. Well, not for a long time. The sun peeking out now. But it's usually a struggle a little bit to find attacks as well when it's like this. Although I will have an 20-minute myself. Out of Impala, Kevin Impala had one horn. As we drove, he just started looking at us. Yeah, it seems our signal is dipping, so we're going to send you to James.
I think that they've got a bit of dodgy signal that end of the world. The wild dogs came up this road yesterday evening, and then unfortunately they ran into the reserve north of us. We'll just check and see if Thandi the leopard hasn't come across with her bebes, or if she isn't in fact coming across with her bebes. Let's get out of the car, have a stretch, have a look over there, unplug myself. Was that you? Did you make a noise? I heard. I'm going mad. Lots of hyena action. So here's a hyena track. Another one next to it. And then, these dogs have been all over the place. Here's a wild dog track. And it's going into Torchwood, which is this reserve here. And then they come out again, go through towards the dam that we were at, and then they go out north into Biffle's Hook, which is the reserve north of us, obviously. So plenty of action happening here last night, very little happening here this morning. And this, I suppose, if you might describe it as is the trouble with the full moon. Because the dogs, which are normally diurnal hunters, will move around a lot during the night. Good, well that was fascinating, wasn't it? Just blew my mind. But everything seems to run out of Djuma as soon as we start to drive around on it. On we go. We're on the eastern boundary, obviously. Just checking out what's going on here. And you want to see my socks? Well, given that I can't find any wild dogs, I'll show them to you. They're quite smart, aren't they? My wife gave me these socks on the eve of our marriage. She said they were to make sure that I didn't get cold feet. Ha 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 ha. Such a sense of humor she has. On we go. Hello, bush baby. You're wondering what magnification of binoculars I would recommend? 8 to 10s, I guess. These are 10s. I think 10 is nice. And then you want a 10 by 42 or 10 by 50 because it gives you a nice wide field of view. I think those smaller kind of little birding binoculars have gone largely out of fashion because they're actually quite difficult to use. That kind of size for me is the most ideal. 10 by 42s these are. You don't need to get Leicas. These are very kindly lent to me by my father-in-law. I'm just listening to the radio. There are now lions calling on Biffleshoek. But that's all. You can watch my our Kalahari video, not mine, our Kalahari video on YouTube. You just go to my YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and type in James Hendry and it should pop up. There will be a picture of me looking very stern. And there you will find it. There's also a link on my Instagram account if you want to see it there. It's in an Instagram story there, so you can just go to my Instagram account if you so desire. And it'd be lovely to have your viewing and indeed your opinion. We got one dislike last night. Kirsten and I were a little upset by that. We set to mournful howling. Somebody gave us a thumbs down. And then, as Louise has just said, and I guessed, it must have been somebody who wasn't wearing their glasses. You know, they meant to hit the like button, but hit the dislike button. It may have even been my wife, yes, quite. She's not much good, even with her glasses on. This is the other road that Tundi's been using extensively. Patty, no, I don't have any comment about the hole that Lauren made in Wendy's door. Safe to say that in 20 years of operating in an environment like this, and having spoken to a few others who've worked for us, so say combined 50 years or so of driving game drive vehicles in this environment, no one I've spoken to has in fact ever seen anything quite so impressive. Let's leave it there. I believe Lauren is in the final control, so maybe she won't mind if I share with you. When I looked at the car yesterday, and I was speechless. She said, well, you know, it's an old car and it's wearing thin. And I stared at her, and she realized what she'd said, and she just kind of looked back at me and smiled. And we left it at that. I tell you, there's one person who does need to see it, and that's Brent Leo Smith. I think he would applaud loudly. I think he attempted to do that a few times to a number of vehicles, but failed. And let us not forget, of course, that this was inflicted by the self-proclaimed best driver at WildEarth currently. Let's now let's go to Trish. She has not done that to her vehicle, but she has lost a guest off the back of her vehicle once, which is impressive.
I have dropped a guest straight off the back. That guest was Louise. Yes. It was my fault. What can I say? That's what this thick grass can get you sometimes. So you don't see a stump that's at the bottom, and then boom, straight into the stump. Louise straight on the ground. There was actually, like, you know when time slows down and it was actually just 2 seconds, I felt like I was staring at her on the ground for about 10 seconds. And she was just like, bloop, on her bottom, straight off. Not even like, you know, half clinging, nothing. Just, bah. Yes. Hello, starling. No! I think they're sympathizing with you, Lou. So now, oh, there we go. Now you sit nicely for me, you two. That was an coming from the back. Huh. But yes, Natalie is holding on very, very, very tight. I am also driving a little bit slower because I'm not following anything through the bushes. Although I must say I wish I was. Not to drop Natalie off, but because that would mean that I'd have something to follow through the bushes. Natalie's just put her hand on the frame on the outside. She is holding on tightly. I've also managed to get what appeared to be a spear of some sort, in my opinion. It was just a branch, but a spear of some sort that was jutting out from the ground at just the perfect angle to get through the front grate of the car and into the radiator. And the fan. All just everywhere. Impressive work I've done here with WildEarth. Murray, you'd like to know if anyone's ever had to be rushed to hospital from Djuma. There's Louise. What was yours, Lou? Malaria. Oh, yes. She had appendicitis. Steve, what did Steve have? Oh, yeah. That was in Kenya. He had to be airlifted out of camp in Kenya. I broke my foot. I could probably reveal this to you all now. I was sitting on the tracker seat, and Pat was driving. And then he didn't look carefully enough and managed to wedge my foot between the vehicle and a stump. And then it went and then Africa Safety came, and then I went to the hospital that day to Nelspruit. It went. That was interesting. It was also over the Christmas period, so it was difficult to get anything done. Go on leave, all of that. Definitely an interesting time on crutches for me in the bush and the sand, and then occasionally getting on the vehicle to go out in a bumble and having to lay my cast foot on the bar. Interesting. Anyway, I still love Patrick. I will send you now over to James, who has an animal for you.
Yes, indeed, an animal we have to show you. I must just say that we have all broken vehicles, every one of us. Some definitely more than others, and I am in unfortunately the category of person who has done more damage than most. I've never managed to open the car like a can. I've definitely smashed steering boards, poked holes in radiators, bent bits and pieces of the frame. It is the nature of the beast, especially if you're trying to follow a leopard. Now we have got some Wasserbock, and you'll notice that the Wasserbock are obscured by a beautiful plant in summer and the bane of photography come this time of year. That is the foxglove, the wild foxglove. Well, no, not that one, because that ugly stick thing in front of the waterbuck. Yeah, you just can't make that look nice. Know what I mean? That's the one. Anyway, very pretty waterbucks here on Chitwa. Ooh, and if you go to the left, BK, you will see you will see a crested barbet. I've got BK's name as BJ stuck in my mind because Graham called him that yesterday. Not sure why. There it is. There's something such fun about a crested barbet. We will now continue along here and hopefully find something of use. And you're going to see a baby dwarf mangusta.
It's a family photo, everyone. Is that not gorgeous? Oh, they almost made a... Oh, good morning. Almost made a V formation. This is something I love about mongoose. They always are. Very, very quick, as you know, and when you come close to them, they run away into their burrow very quickly. But then you sit out here a little bit quietly, and out they come, squeezing. So curious about us. Now these are dwarf mongoose, everyone. I think they look a little young. There's a one on the left, far left. Oh, not anymore. And some space has been taken up. That's actually a little lighter than the others. Whoa! What scared it? A crested barbet just called and then they all got scared. I don't see any aerial predators around. These guys are just too much. It's so entertaining to watch. It's now that it's started to warm up. This is perfect time to come out and sunbathe for a little bit. Yes, it is I, Trishala. I am your friend. You may not recognize me because I haven't seen this particular family on this mountain before. But I promise, I and the thousands of people sitting behind me, that's all of you, by the way. We're your friends. Yes, we are. I wonder what goes through their heads when they see us. This is too cute. The mongoose will now be presenting to you in gestures and body language. They'll be telling you about themselves, and I shall be quiet. I will have to relay your messages to and your questions to them though, so apparently all the viewers think that this is a hilarious sighting. Oh dear mongoose. Very cute. I think that's their face to say, we don't appreciate your comment on this being hilarious. Clearly, they're reporters, and they're trying to do their job. Now I got Jessica and Nicola. Did I get that right, Lulu? Jessica and Nicola, you'd like to know how big do mongoose get, dwarf mongooses? They only get to about 250 grams, 260 grams each. So, like a little tub of cream cheese. I made cheesecake last night. That's what I remember. It was 250 per tub. Oh man, I was meant to let them answer. Nicola and Jessica would like to know, how large can you get? That one is quite a large one. I think that one's a tub of cream cheese and a half. Shame, Louise, it's not actually that fat. It's just sitting in a bit of a crouched up position, rounding the back. smaller ones are very interested in us. I love it. Okay, yeah, maybe this thing is pretty big. That's a big fat mongoose. Louise has decided to draw my attention to the fat rolls on the neck of this mongoose. Oh no, I feel like I've just teased him and he heard me. And then I feel awkward. Keeps looking back at me like I heard you, and then looks away. Oh, now we're gonna get a size comparison, and that's gonna make this guy feel worse. Can you even fit in there? Oh, can you see the... I think that's the fat one just poked its head out there. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Every time I say a thing, the faces on these guys just look like they're responding to what I'm saying. Now it looks like, oh, I'm gonna come get you. Louis the lion. Let's watch their response. You say that he's fat from eating all of the cream cheese. There you go. Did you see that, Louis the lion? That's what he thinks of that. I think that was a gimme more cream cheese. Beck, you say he reminds you of your cat. It almost looks like he's got a weird smile on his face as well. Beck, do you have a slightly rotund cat? They're just the cutest, I think, with a couple rolls. Gosh, that hole is like a clown car. How many more can emerge from there? I know exactly how you feel, Louise. We are not sure why this is so hilarious. Wow, these are... Oh, that one just put the other ones in. Okay. Their curiosity in us has waned a little bit. Nope. Heads are still popping up. Oh, is that our large friend? Whee! They all dived down and our large friend got stuck. No, I think that's it, Louise. I think that's it. Because that's the one that's got the rolls. Yes, that's it.
Henry, yours? Standing by.
No, we have to get them all out to find out which of that one's not it. I think it's the one on the left there, Louise. That one. I was just gonna say, maybe there's some siblings that share in the cream cheese generosity. Some of you are wondering if perhaps the fat one could be pregnant. I don't like the way I said that. The way the large one, if the large one could be pregnant, I don't think so. The deposits of the fat are not in the appropriate places for pregnancy. There's also a lot of flabbiness going on. Not the kind of beach ball type of taut, large body, you know what I mean. I know you all know what I mean. They have a very short gestation, these guys anyway, so I guess we could come back and have a look. It's only about 55 days. So yes, I guess we could come and have a look. Hi Kinsey, you'd like to know if mongoose is similar to meerkats? They are. It's probably the easiest of their relatives to liken them to. They're in the family Hippistidae. There are a lot in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Lisa, you'd like to know, besides cream cheese, what do mongoose eat? Generally, they try to avoid cream cheese, but obviously somebody's gotten into the tub, no pun intended. But they're the smallest carnivores that we get here. That meaning the order Carnivora, they're the smallest species in that order. So they are true carnivores, and they will eat any type of invertebrate, and as well as little reptiles, scorpions, snakes, lizards. If it moves, and they can get their paws on it, they will eat it. They'll even take small rodents or a small bird if they come across it. Well, they gave us a proper entertaining, I must say. So we thank you all for this lovely segment, and I'm going to now move away from them if I can bear to do it, and I'll send you over to James for an update.
We are in a field of Polydora. Here you are, Judy H. A great big field of Polydora, and it's all turned to seed, which I think is quite nostalgic. I always feel this is a nostalgic time of the year as the flowers turn from their glory to the seed that must then lie dormant in the soil until the end of the winter. Does anybody else feel like that, or is it just me? I believe you were all laughing at the fat mongoose. We're often asked about fat animals out here and whether animals do get overweight, and I'm sure we heard a lot of those discussions now. And the answer is no, not really, except when there's a fat mongoose, clearly. So those seeds are going to be cast to the wind fairly soon, or these particular ones will be cast to the ground shortly, and off they'll go and remain as a kind of dormant legacy, if you like, of the annual plants that are Polydora or Vernonia. No wild dogs calling. Miles away. They found at least 2 packs of wild dogs today. We've seen their tracks all over the place, and both the packs that they found have been up north of us. Now there's a pack calling to the south. Anyway, we'll go as far south of Chitwa as we can. We're on Chitwa now, which is the southernmost part of the reserve that we're allowed to go. It sounds like they are well inside Mala Mala. Dylan, you want to know where we find Polydora? All around us, Dylan. Here it is. Look, the great fields of it. In fact, this is the most exuberant stand of Polydora I've ever seen. Is that answering your question? Or am I misinterpreting what you're asking? There it is, Polydora. It was named, of course, not by me. Well, it wasn't named by anyone that I know, but it was discovered. The new name was discovered by the world's greatest internet botanist. Possibly the world's greatest botanist, but certainly an excellent internet botanist, and that is Judy H. Thank you, Judy. We're on these kind of windy paths of Chitwa that I never really know where they're going to pop out. So it's always quite a fun little mystery driving around on them. And there are lots of huge termite mounds here that I always hope I'm going to find Uchava on top of, or Sibui or anyone else. And sometimes we do, and a lot of the time we don't. But it always feels quite mysterious driving through here. I quite like it. It's very thick though, very thick. Marius Ronald, the remote-controlled rover, was retired after his performance in the final show of, what was it called? We called it the binge show at that we used to do for National Geographic. Well, there are the tracks of Kuchava, so I'm going to just drive on them while I tell you the story. And for those of you who missed it, during the final binge show, Hosanna the male leopard, well, first, what was Ronald the rover? Ronald was a little kind of remote control buggy with tank tracks on him, and he could go just about anywhere very slowly. And we put a camera on the front of him and a little bit of broadcasting equipment so that he could send a picture back to us. And it just gave us an unusual angle of the bush. And we had him in the middle of elephant herds, and he'd park on the side of a waterhole, and then where else would we drive him? We drove him into a lion pride once, I won't tell you about that. And then we used him for this Nat Geo show, and it was 5 days in a row, every morning for 2 hours, and on the final show, Ronald the rover was driving, I was driving, and we drove him into a sighting with Hosanna the male leopard. Now, Hosanna the male leopard was a brilliant leopard to do this with because he wouldn't take fright. He might just look a bit, and then normally he'd just ignore the rover. And we'd got some wonderful photographs or video of him, of Tingana, of lions on kills, actually. Scott got amazing picture of a lioness eating a zebra, but from about that far away. He just slowly drove it up, and the lioness ignored it completely. Anyway, eventually what Hosanna did on the day that you really didn't want him to do this, he decided to take an interest in Ronald, and he picked him up. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they cut to us as Hosanna picked up Ronald the rover and walked off with him. And it was quite embarrassing. it was quite funny at the same time. Didn't do any harm to Hosanna, the male leopard, but that's really not the kind of thing you want. And what we realized was that we weren't in fact observing nature in a new way. We were interacting with our subjects, and that's not the idea. That really wasn't what we wanted to do. We wanted and different views of the animals that we look at. We didn't want to have an interaction with them because that's just a bit fake, really. And so we retired him, and he now sits in retirement in Tekrum. And if you watch, for example, I'm going to say the name, Serengeti. I enjoyed it. How many didn't? To carry on with the discussion, Karma cannot because we have no signal, but Ngala has got something very special to show you.
Right, so we've been lucky enough to find this. Oh, he's standing up. The timing could not have been better. He might go for a drink. So he has got a very full belly. Such a stunning animal. This is the Twatsimotso male. And, yes, we've been trying to show you guys this male. It's just every time where we find him, the signal is bad. So we've been trying to, maneuver around as much as possible. And yeah, luckily up here, oh, look at those eyes there. Luckily where we are now, we're almost on a little bank of this watering hole, and we managed to get a bit of signal. And I must say, he's been lying in the same spot for the past maybe 15 minutes while we've been maneuvering around. And it's just as as James sent you guys here, that he got up and started to drink. But he's got a very full stomach. Just look at those beautiful greyish blue eyes. Absolutely stunning animal. This, I must be honest, is probably my favorite leopard on andBeyond in Ngala. He's we were quite fortunate enough that his mom, the New Zealand female, had him about 2 years 10 months ago, and he relaxed because the Birmingham Pride denned almost in this area. So he got to see us a lot as we tried to find the youngsters of the Birmingham Pride. And so for that reason, he got habituated. His mom is really not the most habituated leopard on andBeyond in Ngala, but he is very relaxed, as you can see. Look at the size of this animal. For a leopard that's only 2 years and 10 months old, he is huge. I know the light is a bit in the way there, but he'll carry on moving. I'm very fortunate to show you. I'm scared to move because I don't want to lose signal, especially now that he's moving. So we are just going to sit tight and see where he goes. Sniffing the grass there. There we go. Might actually roll around there in a bit of poo. They often do that. Master scent a little bit. Can't see if that's, I think it might be buffalo poo. Looking at everything else around him. Stunning animal. But very big. Honestly, I'm blown away by the size of this male every single time I see him. So he's, about 7 months, 8 months older than the Makoti male, and nearly double his size. I guess genes has everything to do with this. His mom being the New Zealand female, and I think his dad, judging by his eye color, his dad is probably a big male we have in the south, known as the half-eared male. I don't know, they've got a different Shanghai name for him. I think I posted a photo of him the other day saying this is how leopards disappear. But stunning. I mean, this is the third ever leopard I've seen with bluish eyes. Of course, we argue about it all the time. Every single time I've got guests, they say, no, but these eyes are green. And then I'd say, no, his eyes are blue. More like greyish blue. It's not the blue you have on the two white lines, but there's definitely a blue tinge to it. How nice of him just to relax in the open like that. I'll start zooming in a little bit onto his face and eyes. Unka, we used to collect leopard scat for the Panthera project, but I think now we've stopped. Yeah, I think last time we did it was about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years ago. But yeah, we also used to do that for Panthera. Of course, it's a good program for us to know exactly where the leopard territories and where they walk around, which leopards we see where, and we try to do that as much as possible, which is why we definitely collect the spot pattern. We know all our leopard spot patterns. Funny, but it's the wonderful thing about having an open property, no fences around us, that we do end up seeing a lot of leopards that we've never seen before, especially on our boundary roads. Then every now and then, like the Hukumuru male, when he just walked through andBeyond Ngala and made his way straight to Djuma, it happens. Absolutely unbelievable, but these animals roam very far. So I'd love to know where this carcass is that he was eating, and I'd love to know whether he killed it himself or was it his mom that fed him. James Richard is thanking us for finding him. Pleasure, James. Anytime. Sorry we couldn't show him to you before. Just the signal tends to be a little bit bad at spots, so we can't hang around those areas for too long. It's amazing how this cat blends in with the grass, isn't it? You can just think, if he had to go back by about 2 meters and lie down in that grass, you probably won't even see him. You know, the grass is still quite long, just coming out of summer. See the long whiskers on the side. Oh, so apparently I got asked the other day how many whiskers a leopard has on the face, and I think Kirst googled it for me. It's apparently 30 on each side. Don't know who counted that, but thank you. So now he's looking up at the plane flying over. Remember earlier when we were driving past the old airship, I was speaking about the anti-poaching plane that flies above andBeyond Ngala every now and then just to scope out the property. So that's the sound you can hear now. Toby, who's only 9 years old, wants to know how many leopards we have on andBeyond Ngala. Toby, like I said earlier, it's not a fenced-in property, and leopards come and go as they please. So I can't really give you a direct or exact number. Leopards that we know of, last time we did a count was about 1 year ago, and I think we got to, what was it, 12 males and 14 females. Not 12 large males, we counted all the sub-adults and young males as well. So quite a few that we'd be able to see on Ngala. The relaxed ones, it's a little bit less. Lava every now and then he'll just pop us to look, make sure we are still here. See his belly going up and down, up and down. Twatsi is actually where we're sitting now is known as Maboto Pan, and then the Timbavati River is in the direction where his head is facing. And then where he's looking now is the Twatsi drainage line or riverbed. So it's a tributary into the Timbavati, and that's where we often used to find him. So we called him Twatsi male. That's usually how we name our animals around these areas. It's not by just giving them some name like Frank or Ben, but rather where we tend to see them often or find them the first time, or something associated with their behavior. So twatsi moto to this male, makoti male, which means vulture, to the male, more in the center of the reserve. Yeah. I've never seen him hunt for himself yet. Well, actually, we've seen him hunt small things like a mongoose, like a banded mongoose. And then often what he does is quite strange. He kills it, and then he'll go bury it or hide it somewhere in a grassy patch rather than eat it. I think he still eats his mom's food, because his mom and sister, they're not as relaxed as he is. But it's something with male animals. I don't know, I think they just feel more confident in themselves, so they tend to be a bit more relaxed, a bit more habituated with the vehicles. I think his sister, they were born at exactly the same time, and I have never ever taken even one photograph of his sister. Dreamy, what is the leopard? Oh, sorry, there. Ooh, that went all pear-shaped there. What is the difference between a leopard and a panther? So the way I understand it, a panther is black in color, melanistic, and a leopard, of course, has spots. So a panther could be a leopard, but a melanistic leopard or a black leopard.
Yeah, it's a geographical difference. I mean, they use panthers in America to refer to cougars.
Right. Yeah. Panthera would be more like a genus.
Yeah, Panthera is...
Or if we had to go Panthera. Marcel says it's a geographical difference. But you're saying in the US they would refer to mountain lions as panthers as well, which I...
Cougars as panthers sometimes.
Now he's going into cougars, which is no, Marcel. Let's not go into
in
cougars.
South America they sometimes refer to jaguars as panthers as well.
Right. So panther would be just a broad name for any, well, leopard, jaguar. But a mountain lion, not me a panther. Anyway. Dylan, this, I don't know, like these days, it's more, you just see the face of a leopard and it's like recognizing your own dog or your own cat, in a whole bunch, or in the neighborhood walking around. You just know this is your dog or this is your cat. It's now come to that stage. But often, I mean, there's not going to be one other young blue-eyed male leopard in this area. So this is the territory for New Zulu female, and we know that she's got this youngster. So hence why it has to be the Tatsimoto male. It has happened before where people, radio in a leopard and they'll say, okay, this leopard is here, and then you eventually arrive and you think, oh, but this is not that leopard. So we still get them wrong every now and then. But yeah, mostly spot pattern, facial recognition, and just the area they're in. Which leopards frequent which areas of andBeyond Ngala. Definitely blending in a little bit more with his surroundings where he's lying down now than earlier when he was on the mud. Big stretch. Okay, let's quickly see. I think he's coming down to drink again. See how the tail goes up? Just also to tell anything in the area that he's not really here to hunt it or kill it. Of course he's going to stop just right behind the light. So if he goes that way, we can't follow him, because I'm pretty sure we'll lose signal there. Okay. I just wanted to face the other way. Okay, while he's lying down and figuring out what he wants to do, we're going to send you back over to Trish just for a quick update. It's rolling around.
Well, I am now heading back towards the den, especially since it's warmed up. The mongoose were a good indication that the smaller bodies are now ready to take on the day. So hopefully that means our little cubs and their tiny little bodies are going to get nice and warm, and maybe they'll be out. Earlier when I came it was a little cool and Ribbon wasn't there. I feel good. I have a good feeling. I had a wonderful time with those mongoose as well. I hope you did too. Charles, you'd like to know if I've ever seen an aardwolf? Yeah, I have not. You don't actually get them in this area. I've only seen the spotted hyena from the hyena variety. Ah, Ribbon is here. Quite deep in the burrow. But maybe babies will get hungry soon. Good morning, Ribbon. I feel like she enjoys the sunlight more than she lets the cubs enjoy sunlight. What have you and your clan been up to this morning? Apparently you're having a wild dog party. Or party with the wild dogs, rather. So peaceful. Now, Djuma has been around the den quite a lot recently. Which I'm sure is lovely. It's also interesting because Ribbon's cubs, especially if there's a female cub, will be higher ranking than Djuma, who is Ribbon's daughter, because they are younger than her. So I wonder what kind of psychology is going on, whether she's coming to size them up I feel like there's another hyena around, I just can't see. Now, hi, Alex. You'd like to know why her name is Ribbon? It's because she has a little ribbon-like marking. Kind of like the ribbon you'd get to support an organization, like a breast cancer ribbon or an AIDS awareness ribbon. I'll show you a picture. Let me just get it. She has that on her thigh. Here it is. Let's just have a look there. You can see the ribbon-like marking. So that's why she is named Ribbon. Now, nobody else really names their hyenas around here. So we use our imagination. Hi, Danica. You're 9 years old. You'd like to know how deep this burrow goes, or hyena den goes. The actual construction of this whole mound will go quite deep into the ground, maybe even as much as you see over the ground here. another one of those underneath the ground. So maybe you're only seeing half. But the actual den that Ruben is using for her little ones at the moment, where she's sitting, will not go very deep underground. So as you go deeper underground, it gets very hot and quite moist. And it also means that the babies have the risk of it flooding if it's too deep. So it is probably to the ground level with a little kind of middle table made of sand that the little ones can climb on top of if there is some flooding. But remember, if it's too deep into the ground, then even a little pedestal like that would not help the cubs. And it sort of slants in, not just a drop down. I myself would love to have a peek in there. I'm not sure how I'll feel about what I see, though. Hi, Anushka. You'd like to know how quick after these cubs can Ribbon get pregnant again? Well, it'll take these cubs about a year and a half at most to actually get weaned fully. It's usually between 14 and 16 months that they're fully weaned. And then at that point, she'd be able to fall pregnant again. Remember, she only has 2 teeth, so she can only provide for one set at a time. And then also, if she's still providing milk, it'll be very difficult for her to actually carry cubs at the same time. We've spoken about the types of placenta previously. We touched on it. And I told you that the placenta that humans have are the most invasive type. It's called a hemichorial placenta, and it has direct contact with the parent's bloodstream. It's not common in other animals. In, for example, horses and pigs, the placenta just kind of sits against the endometrial tissue, and in cats and dogs it pushes a little bit more, but in humans it actually burrows into the tissues, so it's very invasive. Hyenas have that same placenta that we do. It's very invasive, makes direct contact with the parent's bloodstream. So it is very intensive nutritionally and energetically to carry cubs, especially for a hyena. And it would take too much from her body to be able to do that and be producing milk. Apart from that, when animals are still lactating, it is they produce certain hormones that pretty much...
They are on the eastern side of Hyena.
Their hormonal kind of cycles aren't going ahead as fully as they would if they were not lactating, because there's a whole lot of other things going on in the body. Now, apart from that, cubs will only reach independence between 2 and 3. So it might take her longer, but theoretically, as soon as she's done weaning these cubs, she should be able to fall pregnant again. And then after that, be about 90 days, and she can have another little set. There she goes, open eye, to say that she would like to send you over to James and have a look at those little grebes.
Well, we had a little grebe. Was it still there, BK? It's in this little pond, this lily pond. where one imagines Kermit the Frog might live. That's just a bit of dung. The grebe, I think, grew old and died while we were waiting. Yeah, it literally grew old, died, and sank. Let's have a look at the lilies there. There we've got the lilies. They're going to open up soon as the sun comes out. Now I just want to quickly finish my pontification from my last segment before we lost signal. Ronald the Rover was retired because he was having an effect on the animals that we were filming. And I think that we need to interrogate the use of technology in documentaries and decide whether they are benefiting or harming or affecting the animals that we're trying to film. And in the case of Ronald, it was definitely starting to affect the animals we were trying to film, so that wasn't great. And then I went on to say that if you watch Serengeti, you'll see these shots of lions swiping at something, and they've set it up so it looks like they're swiping at other lions. But they're very clearly swiping at drones and remote-controlled vehicles that are harassing them to the point of anger. And I just don't think that's cool. That's just my opinion, though. These were all open yesterday. It's a beautiful little pond. It's a nice place to come and sit and contemplate life. There's a water monitor or pair of water monitors that live in it. The grebes, often a green-backed heron. And I was talking about that nostalgia of this time of the year. If BK pans up, you'll be able to see all the weavers' nests that are no longer in use, and they'll slowly fall off the tree. And perhaps the same tree will be used next year. There's water here. I hope it will be. I don't actually believe this. I am gobsmacked. If you have watched my little honeymoon video with my wife, there is a leopard that features in it. It's a young female leopard who I was pretty convinced that the people of the Kalahari knew about and nobody else would. But quite astoundingly, I don't know why I'm astounded by this, because I shouldn't be, but James Richard knows who that leopard is. This one featured in the first installment is a female known as Simamkele. She was born in December 2018 and believed to be the offspring of Esau female. #WildEarth. James Richard, would you be so very kind as to share how on earth you know that? I feel that the internet is a mine of information that I'm just missing out on. So, if you'd like to see Simamkele the leopardess, pop along to episode 1 of me, my wife and I. Now, apparently this leopardess was seen regularly. Oh, there's the grebes back out. This leopardess was seen regularly around where we saw her. We only saw her once, naturally, because we have poor luck, but she was seen hunting tortoises and doing all sorts of things over about 5 days. Young leopardess. Yeah, no, I think that's probably true. Louise says James Richard obviously knows every leopard in Africa. I agree completely. And then BK, just beyond that, hiding, thinking they can't be seen, is a group of white-faced whistling ducks. Just on the shoreline, you won't actually see them until you zoom in there. If you zoom straight in there, you'll see them. There they are. Look at them lurking there. Thank you, James Richard, for that. I mean, absolutely amazing. Simamkele, the female leopard. James, I think maybe you should go to the people who run those master classes. You know those master class things that we are being bombarded with on a daily basis on any form of social media, where some expert purports to be able to teach you the secrets of great wealth or whatever it is. I think those people should invest some proper money in you, and you could teach us all how to identify leopards remotely from around the world. Yes, and as my good wife says, James Richard, well done on the leopard, but if you can get the name of the brown hyena and the lion that appear in the next episode, we'll be really impressed. All right, on we go from here. My wife would also like you, James, to identify all the lions that you saw in that video. I would be too embarrassed to ask that, so I'll just leave her to do it. Here we go. Oh, the one with the glassy eye, she says. We are now going to press on for home. And we're going to go back across to Trishala, who is keeping vigil, as Ribbon does very little.
That is absolutely correct. Ribbon is doing nothing. I don't hear any squealing, any little cubbies. Nothing at all. Still very relaxing though. I thought I could hear things in the background, maybe other hyenas around, but it turned out to be grey go-away birds in the trees that tend to make quite a bit of noise as they shuffle about. So it's just a sleepy Ribbon for now. She's making me sleepy. And now I'm thinking about breakfast. The time of the morning has arrived. Don't laugh, Darby. Darby's laughing because I've been thinking about breakfast for like an hour now. I'm just admitting it to you guys. There's fresh bread this morning, everyone. Alex has made us sourdough bread. This is number 4. Is it, Lou? Hi. Hi, Martin. You'd like to know why are hyenas, little hyenas, born with dark fur? Well, one of the theories as to why they're born with dark fur is that because a den is dark, then it would be more difficult for any predator that manages to get into the den. It may not even be a predator, it may just be an animal that feels threatened, manages to get into the den, and the little ones will be more difficult to see. I see a little ear. They're out. They're out. They're out. Come on. Come on. I'm so happy. I am so happy. They've gotten so much bigger since the last time I saw them. Oh, this is just wonderful. And I got quite a look of curiosity, which was nice. It means that they're getting interested in the vehicle. saw them, they were little. I think they've almost, I wouldn't say doubled, maybe 50% greater than they were last time. Whoa, you could have fallen. Oh, we're so lucky, everyone. Aren't we just so lucky? You have lots of things on your fur. Ooh, exploring. They've definitely grown in confidence. The one that was very patchy at first started to come back a little bit. Candy, you say this has made your entire day? You and me both, Candy. Because the drive was so quiet, and I thought, oh well, it'll just be one of those drives. And then we were rewarded with this. Super YouTube forever. You'd like to know if the cubs laugh like adults do. And they can't yet. And they can't whoop either yet. But they do make little squittering sounds. I think just the word squittering can explain to you what it sounds like. And little squeaks and squeals. But by the time they get their spots, I've seen them attempt to actually, that's really interesting. That one just tried to anal paste. I've seen them try to whoop when they're little, just when they start to get their spots. Of course, it's not a very effective whoop, but they do try. There we go, we're practicing our anal pasting. We're out and about. And it's very important for us to know how to mark our territorial boundaries. Now we've got to taste out of the way that the anal paste tastes as well. Get familiar with it. We are hyenas after all. There's very few things we don't put in our mouth. Oh, we get a skidder. So I think the one closest to me here with the full fur was the one that I thought was the more dominant one when I first saw them. And at this one, I thought the one with the patches that just got close to ribbon, I thought that one was the one that was submissive. But we'll just have to continue to watch. I'm actually surprised they're not rougher with each other. I think to me that tells me that they've actually already established their dominance. No sooner have they detached from the placenta than they try to establish their dominance and are defending themselves. Louise, I'm going to get that question from you again, please. Tiger cubs, you'd like to know if we can tell male or female at this age? It's very difficult. Very, very difficult. As you would have known about the ambiguous the ambiguous genitalia of hyenas. It's difficult as adults to tell male and female apart. As cubs, it's even more difficult. But it can be done if we get a clear view. You'll find quite simply that the males look more penis-like, and there is the shape is more penis-like, and there is a defined sort of head bit. Let's see if I have a picture for you so I can help to show it. No, I don't think I have with me. And the female has pseudopenises. Venturing very, very far out. Her pseudopenis would be a little bit more, a little bit less shapely. The best way to familiarize yourself with that is to have a look at a picture. Guys, did you see how far out they came? That was so cool. It's only a matter of time before they get closer to us. Another go at some anal pasting. Zoe, you'd like to know how old are they? We first saw them, around the 27th of March. So they're at least a month and a half, I would say. Oh, wait. I keep thinking it's like the 14th. No. But, yeah, 27th of March, I think, was the first time we saw them. This is too lucky. They're so energetic, so playful, so big, so sturdy. It's only a matter of time till they'll be chewing our tires, trying to sniff my boots. Oh, you're coming very close, little one. Hi, we see you. Well, this was just the ultimate reward for today's drive. What do you think? I think so. Well, thank you guys for your questions and your comments. I'm so glad that I could share these moments with you. And we'll see you this afternoon. So bye for now.